Welcome back, guys. It is thrift flip time. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be working through a big flip for fall, and I'm going to start here with this breadboard that I had made out of an old magazine rack. I had made 2 of these breadboards and 2 decorative ladders from here, but this one is still not sold, and I've been using it a lot for displays in my booth, so it's a little beat up and needs a refresher. I'm just going to take some watered down Waverly wax, and I'm going to paint it all over the top and sides and feet of this. And I'm going to take some dry paper towel and just wipe away all of the excess. And I'm just going to repeat this process all over the entire thing until I get it to the tint or shade that I would like, which for here, I'm really going for an off-white. Now I'm going to be adding on some decorative transfers. I found these at a vendor booth at a vendor mall that I go to. I believe it's by Redesign, and it just says decorative transfer on the top. But these are some dried out beautiful flowers that I think have great fall tones. So we're going to use this to put this down there. I'm going to cut out this middle flower that's in here. I just have this little cutting mat that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this little box cutter and take that out because I do want to save that for a different project. I think it looks kind of weird just sitting there, but that's the best thing about transfers is you can cut them out and lay them out however you need. So my wax is now completely dry. I'm just going to line this up where I want to, center it up, and then push it down. It also comes with this little wooden stick, but if you don't have that, you can use, like a credit card or anything that has a nice flat hard surface that you can push and add pressure. I actually use my fingernail a lot too, which you'll see later whenever I'm doing a surface that's not flat. For these transfers, you just give it a good amount of pressure and you can kind of see the transfer come off of it. It'll kind of change color and go more of like a light gray or kind of foggy. And I'm just going to do that until this is completely on. I'm going to cut away the excess just to make it a little easier to handle. And as you're pulling it up, if there's any part of the transfer that is coming off with the film on top, just lay it down directly back where it was and rub it, and you can get any additional pieces off. Now I'm going to use my hand to smooth it out, make sure everything is nice and secure, and then I'm going to add some twine around the top. I'm just going to wrap this around a few times and then tie it into a neat little bow and cut off any of the excess, and then from there I'm going to make sure that I seal the transfer. I'm going to be using some polycrylic and just doing a nice light even coat over the entire surface. That way the transfer is on there and secure and not going to go anywhere. Just to keep my entire surface looking the same sheen, I did paint all the way up past the handle, which you can't see here because I'm not in frame, but I like to make sure everything is nice and even and looks the same with my brush strokes all going the same direction. I think this turned out really cute. I'm so glad I took the time to give it a little update. I have a feeling it's going to fly off the shelves. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next, I picked up this little wood pumpkin. It's really cute, and I'm just not loving the orange undertone that it has. Like, I want to keep it, but I also want to deepen it a little bit and then also pop out that wood grain that it has. It's a very beautifully crafted bowl, and I just want to give it a little bit of an update here. So same process, same watered down Waverly wax. I do that just because it's easier to control, and then it's easier to add more. If you accidentally put too much on, it's really hard to get off. So if it's a little bit watered down, it's easier to control, and you can build up to the tint that you want. After I was done putting that all on, I'm ready to do a little arrangement. I picked these florals up actually at the same time that I bought this because I thought that they would look really good together and give it a nice natural look. These flowers are beautiful, so I'm just going to cut the stems down and then create a little arrangement here. I have a yellow, a burgundy, and a white flower, and then this beautiful little pumpkin, and then I'm just going to fill in any gaps with florals that I already have on hand in my craft room. I'm going to add in some little berry picks just to give it a little bit more texture, and then this piece is done as well. I love these florals, especially that pumpkin, and how cute this turned out. It's a beautiful little fall arrangement, and I can't wait for it to go home with the right person. Next, we're going to be making this Scarecrow door hanger. I'm going to start out with just a wood round and a napkin so that I can decorate the background pretty quickly. I'm going to peel apart this napkin. Usually napkins have more than one ply, so this one only has 2 layers. I'm going to peel away that back layer so that I have a nice thin sheet to work with. And I'm just going to kind of get an idea of where I'm going to place it, and then I'm going to Mod Podge it on. I'm going to use the dishwasher safe Mod Podge so that if they do hang it on the door, it will be waterproof. And I'm just going to do a nice healthy even coat all over this background so that I can lay this piece down. And I do apologize for my raspy voice. I do have a little bit of allergies going on, so let's just ignore that. All right, once I get that down, I am going to just lay this down on top and smooth it out. I am getting some wrinkles in this, but that's okay. I didn't really care to have it like super smooth or super like perfect. I want it to have kind of like more of a primitive rustic vibe in the back. That's also why I did not paint it. If you've watched my decoupaging videos before, I tend to paint my background white to make that whatever I'm laying down on top really pop. But here I really wanted that natural wood to show through and it to kind of darken this pattern just a little bit. So once I have it good enough, which to help smooth it out, you know, you can start on one side and go all the way to the other. And you can also use like a plastic glove or Ziploc bag to help smooth it and rub it out. Again, I didn't care to do this, but you see me going one direction with my paintbrush just to make sure all of my lines are the same direction and nice and smooth. And then using my heat gun to dry it up just a little bit and then let it sit until it's completely dry. After that, I'm using my sanding block and I'm going to sand in a downward motion all the way around the edges. And this is going to leave me a nice crisp edge. So it looks really nice, really complete and professional, and it's super easy to do. From there, I need to get these little holes back so that I can add a hanger later on. So I'm just using something to puncture through the hole. And then we're going to set it to the side and work on the scarecrow. Now here, I'm just going to be painting, so I'm just going to let you guys, you know, enjoy that process. Skip ahead if you don't really care to watch this happen, but I'm just going to pick out different colors to update his face. So I'm going to, you know, go ahead and paint the layer of his face, and then I'm going to paint back in all of those details, mixing up a bunch of custom colors, just kind of had specific colors I wanted for each thing. And then I'm just going to go through with different color combinations that I think fit well. Now that I'm done painting her back up and adding all those details back in, I'm going to be adding a sunflower to this piece. So I went ahead and popped off with a screwdriver that extra little round piece that was in the middle of the flower. That way it'll be nice and flat, and I'm now going to glue this down onto my board. I am using my STARBOND glue, putting the glue on the Scarecrow, spraying the accelerator on the back, and pushing it down firmly for about 12 to 30 seconds. Then I'm going to use this cute little sunflower that I have, hot glue it down just to keep it in place, and then I'm going to use that STARBOND to go back around the edges of it to make sure that it's nice and secure for the long haul. After that, I'm going to add a hanger and some ribbon, and it is complete. I love this little Scarecrow and how it turned out. Let me know what you think. Next, I'm going to be compiling a couple projects into one. I have this pumpkin here and this cute little wall pocket. And so I am going to be painting them up. I'm using the color Pumpkin from Waverly, and I'm just going to do a rough paint on each of these. I know it's the same exact color as the pumpkin, but I'm painting it anyway to give it some texture. So I'm wanting these to look a little rough and textured, so I'm just going to go through with my brush and do nice even strokes everywhere, but I'm not going to worry about full coverage. So I'm going to do this with the pumpkin orange, and then I'm also going to come back in and do this with white. With the white, I'm going to be even more like rough with my application because I want it to be very patchy and kind of let that orange from underneath really show through. So I'm just going to do that all around the pumpkin and all over the tin until I am happy with how it looks. After I accomplish the look that I am going for, I am going to go back in and darken these up a little bit. I don't want that bright white, so I'm using some of the watered down antiquing wax to once again give those more of an off-white tint, but also to seal in that chalk paint because chalk paint does need to be sealed. So I'm going to go around painting this on with a rough chip brush and then using a wet paper towel to wipe off any of the excess and kind of rub it in. And if it's pulling off, I'm rubbing pretty hard on this, which isn't typically what I would do, but letting it kind of pull off any of the paint that wants to naturally come off, again, to give it more of that like rough, rugged look. So for the pumpkin, I do need to update the stem a little bit. It's gold and I really like that and want that to pop through, but I also want to make it kind of match and fit the vibe that I'm going for a little more. So I took a light brown and a dark brown, painted those on, and then used the paper towel bunched up and dabbed it so that most of the paint would come off, but it darkened it a little bit and added some splotches, which I really like how that turned out. After getting them looking the way that I want them to and the tone that I want them to, I'm going to pick out some transfers to add to these. So I'm using the same packet of transfers as before, and I'm just going to cut out the different flowers that I want and create my own arrangements. All you have to do is take some scissors and carefully cut around whatever image that you want, and then you can layer them to make them look however you want, to make them more full and kind of arrange them, like I said, and style them yourself. So I'm going to cut all of these out and then I'm going to start putting them down. So right before I was ready to put these down, I just questioned whether or not that chalk paint was really going to stick to these smooth surfaces, even though it was sealed in. So I just wanted to make extra sure that that transfer has something to stick to. So I pulled out the polycrylic and I'm doing a nice thin layer over the area that I want to put the transfer down onto. So I'm going to throw that on there and let that dry really well and then actually apply them. So for the tin, nice and easy, it's a pretty flat surface, so I'm just going to lay it down where I want it to, add some good pressure while holding it in place, and rub that transfer off. Then I'm going to layer that other second flower right on top where I want it to go, and set it aside and start working on the pumpkin. Now the pumpkin's going to be harder because it is a rounded, bumpy surface. However, I should be able to do it. I just have to really take my time. I'm going to lay it down and I'm actually going to use my thumbnail because it's easier for me to control. And I'm going to just start on one side and work my way down. So I'm just going to rub my thumb until that transfer starts to stick, and then I'm going to start rounding it with the pumpkin Sometimes it's easier for me to stick it all the way through the middle and then go to the sides. Sometimes I have to do, like the top part and work my way out. You just kind of have to do what feels right, but know that the film on top is pretty thick, so it's not going to round and sit nice and flush with your curved curved item, but it is definitely possible. You just have to be patient, and like I said, just start at one point. So like when I was going over the top to the top of the pumpkin where it curves a lot, I would lay it flat on top of the pumpkin, get that part of the transfer stuck, and then start to curve it, and that would allow that transfer film on top to stand straight up while I worked on the other portions. So it just took a little bit of time, but I'm really happy with how the pumpkin turned out. It's super cute, and I'm glad that I gave that a try. And I think if you want to do something curved too, definitely give it a shot. Just like I said, be patient. Once you're done, rub over all of those transfers and then make sure you seal them up. I'm just going to be using some polycrylic to seal them in, and both of these items are finished. I think they turned out super cute, and I love this little wall pocket after I put some florals in it. Last but not least, I picked up this cute little tin gold teapot. I think somebody had used it for florals before. It has some yucky stuff in the bottom, so I'm going to clean it out to the best of my ability. And then I'm going to put some more transfers on it. Now, these transfers are some beautiful sunflowers made by the same company, and I think they would go really, really well with this beautiful gold background. So I'm going to pick out the flowers that I want, lay them out in an arrangement, and then stick them to this pot. Same thing as before, remove the back, lay it down, rub the transfer on. Do it in different layers, so like the green leaf that I want in the background needs to go on first. Just kind of doing different stuff like that, making sure you're organizing it well, and rub those on. And then I'm going to seal that in also with some of the polycrylic. Now, polycrylic's not necessarily meant for tin, but for this purpose it will work just fine because it's not going to be an outdoor thing. And I am obsessed with how this turned out. I'm just going to add a little twine to tie it around the top, and I'm only doing it on one side. That way they can flip it around, during a time like maybe in the winter if they don't want sunflowers. So they can still use it as decor by flipping it to either side. But I love these sunflower transfers. They're beautiful, and on that nice golden background, look so great. So thank you guys so much for checking in and watching this video. Please let me know in the comments below what your favorite flip was, and what would you have done any differently. Give me a thumbs up if you like this content. Consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to take you guys in for a closer look, and I'll see you next time.